Hello and welcome to our daily news roundup on Atlantic TV. I am Nkechi Techiri. Here are our top stories. FCT minister seeks global backing for women's empowerment at UN Forum. Declining oil theft. Ex-militant urges federal government to boost Tantita's contract. 2027 elections. APC, PDP, ADC list expectations for next INEC chair. Typhoon Ragas to relocate 400,000 as storm batters Philippines. Osman Dembele crowned 2025 Ballon d'Or winner. Now to the news in full. The Minister of State for the Federal Capital Territory, Dr. Maria Mahmood, has urged the international community to scale up support for women's economic empowerment, describing it as a vital pathway to poverty reduction, equity, and lasting peace. The event brought together women political leaders, industry experts, innovators, and policy makers under the theme Scaling Women's Economic Empowerment, Financing Inclusive Growth for Peace, Development, and Human Rights. Dr. Mahmood stressed that the FCT administration is committed to creating opportunities where women have equitable access to finance, skills, and markets, ensuring their full contribution to national growth. Quoting her words, she said, "Gender equality is not a privilege but a fundamental right. By placing women at the center of economic development, we invest in families, communities, and nations." She commended the organizers for providing a platform to share strategies that can accelerate global progress on women's empowerment. The forum, according to participants, is expected to deliver actionable steps linking women's empowerment with peace, sustainable development, and human rights. From New York, Dr. Mahmood's message was clear. Supporting women is not just about inclusion. It's about building stronger economies and more peaceful societies worldwide. Speaking in New York at a high-level forum on the sidelines of the 80th United Nations General Assembly, Dr. Mahmood said the Tinubu administration's renewed hope agenda places gender inclusion, youth development, and entrepreneurship at the heart of governance. The federal government has been urged to increase the contract value of Tantita Security Services Nigeria Limited, the private security outfit handling pipeline surveillance in the Niger Delta. According to Akpodoro, figures from the Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission reveal crude oil losses dropped from over 102,000 barrels per day in 2021 to just 9,600 barrels per day in July 2025, a 94% reduction. He credited the gains to Tantita's operations under the leadership of High Chief Government Ekpemupolo, also known as Tompolo. The ex-militant commended the federal government and NNPC Limited for adopting community-based security, stressing that it has proven effective in safeguarding national oil assets. Akpodoro appealed to President Bola Tinubu and the National Security Advisor, Malam Nuhu Ribadu, to expand Tantita's operational coverage, insisting that increased funding would help stamp out crude oil theft across Nigerian waters. With Nigeria's economy heavily dependent on oil revenues, stakeholders believe strengthening private security partnerships like Tantita could be key to sustaining the gains in crude production and curbing theft. Former militant leader and mayor of Uroboland, Eshanekpe, Israel, popularly known as Akpodoro, made the call after reports showed a sharp decline in oil theft under Tantita's watch. French media giant Canal Plus has officially completed its takeover of MultiChoice, the South African company behind DSTV and GoTV, in a deal described as the largest in Canal Plus history. The takeover, valued at about $3 billion, received final approval from South Africa's Competition Authority in July, more than a year after Canal Plus launched its bid. MultiChoice, which operates in 50 countries and runs Africa's premier sports broadcaster, SuperSport, will now integrate with Canal Plus' 25-country presence on the continent. Together, the companies promise to expand content offerings, improve streaming services, and increase access to world-class sports and entertainment. Canal Plus CEO Maxim Sada described the deal as a landmark move, calling Africa one of the most dynamic pay TV markets in the world. The Canal Plus and MultiChoice merger marks a new chapter in global media, positioning the group as a leading force in both African and international broadcasting. The merger creates a media powerhouse serving over 40 million subscribers across Africa, Europe, and Asia. With a combined workforce of 17,000, Canal Plus says the acquisition strengthens its dominance in Africa's pay TV market, especially in English, Portuguese, and French-speaking regions. As the 2027 general election draws closer, Nigeria's major political parties are setting out their expectations for the next chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC. The All Progressives Congress, People's Democratic Party, and African Democratic Congress are demanding credibility, neutrality, and strong democratic values from the incoming electoral chief. The APC says its interest is in winning elections in a free and fair atmosphere, calling for a leader who will ensure a level playing field. The PDP, however, insists that only a man of integrity and unquestionable character should head the commission, stressing that neutrality and independence must guide the choice. The ADC has warned that failure to appoint a credible leader could undermine democracy and trigger instability, citing fears of a crisis of credibility that has plagued INEC over the years. With 2027 elections looming large, the credibility of the new INEC boss may determine whether Nigeria's democracy deepens or faces further doubt. For now, all eyes are on President Tinubu's shortlist and the Senate's confirmation process as the nation awaits the next umpire of its democracy. Current INEC chairman Professor Mahmood Yakubu, the longest serving in Nigeria's history, will complete his tenure in November. President Bola Tinubu is expected to nominate his successor subject to Senate confirmation as provided by the 1999 Constitution. Former Rivers State Sole Administrator, Vice Admiral Ibok Ete Ibas, retired, has rejected moves by the State House of Assembly to probe the management of funds during his 6-month emergency rule. Findings show Rivers State received 44.66 billion naira in March, 44.42 billion naira in April, 42.80 billion naira in May, 42.30 billion naira in June, 38.42 billion naira in July, and 41.76 billion naira in August, totaling 254.37 billion naira. Over half of these receipts came from the 13% oil derivation, while VAT contributed about 42%. The state also lost 26.31 billion naira to foreign debt servicing. Despite these inflows, critics say no budget implementation report has been published, leaving unanswered questions about expenditure on salaries, pensions, and capital projects. The probe threat comes just as Governor Siminalayi Fubara resumes office after his 6-month suspension, ending the turbulent period triggered by the political feud with his predecessor, Nyesom Wike. With Ibas rejecting scrutiny and the Assembly insisting on accountability, Rivers State may be bracing for another round of political battles. The Assembly, led by Speaker Martin Amewole, at its first plenary after the emergency rule, resolved to investigate how over 254 billion naira in federal allocations was spent between March and August. But Ibas insists he acted strictly within President Bola Tinubu's mandate. Billionaire businessman Femi Otedola has waded into the fuel supply dispute between the Dangote refinery and the Depot and Petroleum Products Marketers Association of Nigeria, DAPMAN. Otedola congratulated Aliko Dangote on the refinery's success, describing it as a historic leap for Nigeria's energy independence. In a strongly worded statement, Otedola said depots that once thrived on import-driven inefficiencies are now obsolete, with the Dangote refinery supplying fuel locally and efficiently. He recalled advising some depot owners last year to sell off their facilities as scrap while they still had value. According to him, Nigeria now has over 4 million metric tons of storage capacity, most of it idle. Otedola emphasized that Dangote's refinery has redefined the downstream sector, introducing 8,000 CNG-powered trucks to replace aging vehicles and boosting efficiency nationwide. He also slammed subsidy-era fraud, revealing that over 2 trillion naira was siphoned during the Jonathan administration, largely through depot-linked claims. While urging DAPMAN to restructure or invest in new value chains, Otedola hailed President Tinubu's deregulation reforms as the bold step that finally broke entrenched interest in the sector. On a lighter note, he saluted Dangote, saying Africans are proud of him and joking that he can now go to Monaco and rest jejely after his achievements. For Otedola, the message is clear. Nigeria's oil sector has entered a new era, and those unwilling to adapt risk being left behind. The philanthropist who founded DAPMAN 23 years ago urged the group to embrace innovation or risk extinction. He warned that clinging to outdated fuel import models and idle depots would only lead to bankruptcy, stressing that change in the oil sector can only be delayed but never stopped. The Dangote refinery's new direct fuel distribution scheme has disrupted Nigeria's petroleum supply chain, with bulk fuel buyers and filling stations abandoning middlemen for free direct deliveries. Othman, whose association controls about 30,000 trucks, said many members had taken bank loans using service contracts as collateral, but those agreements were now under threat. He argued that the practice violates Section 212 of the Petroleum Industry Act and urged the federal government and the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority to intervene. The Dangote refinery, however, insists the move is part of its logistics free delivery scheme, deploying over 1,000 compressed natural gas-powered trucks to key states including Lagos, Abuja, Delta, Rivers, Edo, and Kwara. The refinery also announced reduced pump prices, 841 naira per litre in Lagos and the Southwest, and 851 naira in Abuja, Rivers, Delta, Edo, and Kwara. Independent petroleum marketers confirmed on Friday that the CNG trucks have begun free deliveries to filling stations. While NATO appeals for fairness to other players in the sector, the Dangote Group maintains the initiative is designed to cut costs for consumers and stabilize fuel prices nationwide. The president of the National Association of Road Transport Owners, Yusuf Othman, raised the alarm on a TV program, warning that thousands of trucks owned by his members risk being idle as buyers now bypass existing agreements to receive free supply from Dangote. China's tech hub, Shenzhen, has begun preparations to evacuate 400,000 residents as Super Typhoon Ragasa barrels towards southern China. The typhoon made landfall on Calayan Island at 3 p.m. local time with winds of 215 kilometers per hour and gusts nearly 300. In Apari, residents reported violent winds shaking homes, while in Calayan, parts of a school roof were ripped off and hauled onto an evacuation center, leaving one person injured. Authorities in Manila shut schools and offices in 29 provinces, while Cathay Pacific in Hong Kong announced over 500 flight cancellations as the typhoon disrupts regional transport. Taiwan's Weather Bureau has also warned of extremely torrential rain, with evacuations already underway in mountainous areas. In China, Guangdong province has ordered shutdowns of schools, workplaces, and public transport as mass evacuations continue in coastal cities. With Ragasa's storm radius stretching more than 300 kilometers, officials warn its destructive force could worsen as it advances towards China. The monster storm has already slammed into the northern Philippines, tearing off roofs, uprooting trees, and forcing more than 10,000 people into evacuation centers. Away from the foreign scene now to sports news, Paris Saint-Germain star Ousmane Dembélé has been named the winner of the 2025 Ballon d'Or, capping a remarkable season with football's most prestigious individual honor. At Monday night's glittering ceremony in Paris, Dembélé was hailed for his consistency and brilliance throughout the 2024-25 season. He scored 35 goals and registered 16 assists across all competitions, including 2 decisive assists in PSG's 5-0 Champions League final victory over Inter Milan. The triumph is seen as a pinnacle of his career, marking a powerful comeback after years of battling injuries and doubts. His win also underlines PSG's growing dominance on the world stage, with the club sweeping both team and individual honors in 2025. Dembélé's coronation as the Ballon d'Or winner confirms his transformation from injury-prone to football's elite, a story of resilience, redemption, and glory for club and country. The 28-year-old French international beat Barcelona's teenage sensation Lamine Yamal and other top contenders after firing PSG to a historic treble. The Ligue 1 title, Coupe de France, and their first ever UEFA Champions League trophy. Chelsea manager Enzo Maresca says forward Cole Palmer is unlikely to require surgery on a recurring groin problem, despite being forced off early in Saturday's 2-1 defeat to Manchester United at Old Trafford. The Chelsea boss explained that Palmer pushed himself to feature in the high-profile clash, but the pain became unbearable. He confirmed the 23-year-old will likely miss Tuesday's League Cup tie against third-tier Lincoln City, with Romeo Lavia and Benoit Badiashile also sidelined. Maresca admitted he may have to rely on academy players, but warned against complacency, stressing that such cup ties are the games that worry him the most, due to the risk of upsets. Palmer's absence will be a major blow for Chelsea, but Maresca remains optimistic his star forward can avoid the surgeon's table and return to action soon. Palmer, who has struggled for fitness this season, lasted just 21 minutes before limping off, but Maresca insists the injury will be monitored day by day, week by week, game by game. And with that sports news, we come to the end of our daily news roundup for today, right here on Atlantic TV. Do also follow us on all our social media platforms for more news stories and updates. Thank you so much for watching. I am Ikechi Tejere. Have a pleasant day.